welcome to another edition of AircraftPost Rousseau Report. I'm Dennis Rousseau. In the last session, we spoke about the early editions of the Challenger 6 series. Today, we're going to finish up and start with the Challenger 604. It should be noted that each iteration was built using the original Challenger 600 type certificate from the late 1970s. Any major modifications to the base aircraft, such as winglets, CF-34 engines, various cockpits, and the like, were added by Supplemental Type Certificate, or STC. Once the Challenger 601-3R ceased production, Bombardier introduced the Challenger 604 in 1996, which featured the GE CF-34-3B engines that were 100% on condition, MSG-3 airframe maintenance that extended the major airframe inspection to every 96 months versus 60 on the earlier models, and a new cockpit, using the Collins ProLine 4 avionics featuring 6 CRT displays. The same system used on the Gulfstream G200 and Lear 60, as well as the 604's direct competitor, the Falcon 2000. As the ProLine 4 platform is nearing 30 years old, about a year ago, Collins introduced the ProLine Fusion as a retrofit on the Challenger 604, wherein the 6 CRTs are removed and replaced with 3 14-inch LCDs, bringing efficiency as well as technology to a legacy cockpit for a cost of around $600,000. By the efficiencies gleaned from the engines and avionics, aircraft range was increased to 3,800 miles at long-range cruise of 0.74 Mach. This allowed for nonstop travel from New York to the interior of Europe and return to New York under most conditions. A new interior design feature employed a swept galley, which opened up the vestibule area, enabled passengers ease of access to the cabin. As previously mentioned, the 9-passenger configuration, consisting of 6 single seats and a 3-place divan, seemed to fit the majority of buyer requirements. The aft divan could be berthed, converting into a full-size bed for overnight missions. There were 365 604s built over a 10-year span at a price point new ranging from $17 to $26 million. This would bring the entire Challenger 6 series fleet to just over 700 aircraft. A couple of drawbacks to the Challenger were its certified ceiling of only 41,000 feet and long-range cruise speed of 0.74 Mach. On a hot summer day, if an operator were to load the aircraft to its max weight, the initial cruise altitude would be in the mid-30s for the first couple hours, which was not a fuel-efficient altitude. Once the aircraft reached its certified ceiling, the cabin altitude was 6,850 feet, which would be a main contributor to passenger and crew fatigue. Also, the emergency window was located directly behind the forward club section, which made for a tight forward cabin in terms of passenger legroom, and this window could not be moved, so the only option was to extend the aft cabin, cutting into the aft lav compartment. The traditional lav arrangement was to have the vanity and lav on the right side of the aircraft and closet on the left side with an exterior window for light. By moving the lav on the right side and vanity on the left, you would eliminate the lav baggage area, and although the length of the lav became shorter, it was still very functional. By employing this design, the aft cabin now had a 4th cabin window on the left and right side, pushing the cabin aft. However, you could still not use the emergency window space for a certified seat, at least for takeoff and landings. In 2006, Bombardier introduced the next iteration of the 600 platform called the Challenger 605. A couple distinguishing features which set this aircraft apart from its predecessors was the tapered tail cone and slightly taller and wider cabin windows, incorporating 8 on the right side and 7 on the left. Once inside, the cockpit is notably changed by employing ProLine 21 avionics, featuring 4 LCD screens and a much cleaner console. One major option was the introduction of the Bombardier Enhanced Vision System, or BEVS, which coupled the head-up display with an infrared externally mounted camera, which lends to safety of flight in inclement weather or during night takeoffs and landings. From 2006 to 2015, Bombardier built 288 605s, with list prices from $23 to $28 million. With the 605s now, this brought the 600 series fleet size to 996 aircraft. The next iteration in the Challenger series was the Challenger 650, launched in 2014 with 25 orders from NetJets, the fractional share provider. Once again, with no notable change in the exterior, it becomes difficult to tell the 605 from the 650. Cruise speed and range remain unchanged, although Bombardier introduced redesigned PSUs, which provided a more modern design, as well as dual 24-inch cabin monitors and the Lufthansa cabin management system. The ProLine 21 cockpit was updated to the ProLine 21 Advanced featuring synthetic vision, or SVS, which, as we've discussed previously, synthetic vision enhances situational awareness by showing everything present in the scan, whether it's terrain, buildings, highways, or obstacles. Through December 2019, there have been 94 650 deliveries, putting the 6 Series total to just under 1,100 aircraft. I mentioned the total number of aircraft due to the fact that when the markets have a downturn, if there are 300 aircraft built and there's 10% of the fleet on the market, that's 30 aircraft. 10% of 1,100 can have a disastrous effect on pricing. And this is not indigenous to Challengers. The same applies to the 916 G4 series or the 1,128 G5, G550 fleet. So how have values held up over time? Similar to most aircraft, the 604 experienced 2 run-ups in pricing, one during the dot-com boom, and the second was just prior to the financial crash in 2008. In this graph, we're depicting a 1998 Challenger 604, and based on pre-owned sales, we show a 20% residual, which is not that strong in only 20 years. Where will it be in 30 years? Consider a 10-year-old Challenger 605 that had a price point new of $26 million, is now selling for $10 million. That's considerable market depreciation in just 10 years. What's the status of the current Challenger markets? Well, the 604 shows 16 available aircraft, representing 4.4% of the fleet, with an average market time of 305 days. As prices range from $3.8 to $6.1 million. On the transaction side, we're showing 13 sales in the last 6 months, similar days on the market, and selling prices from $2.5 to $5.9 million. The 605 is showing 24 available aircraft with ask prices from $8.9 to $14 million, and selling prices for the 8 aircraft sold range from $9 to $13.2 million. Days on the market are running about equal, with 179 for current market and 166 for those that sold. The Challenger 650 seems to have stalled. There are 6 aircraft on the market, and we've seen price drops of $2 to $4 million in the last 6 months, going from $20.9 million to $16.9 million, and interestingly, there have been 0 sales for all of 2019. What can be attributed to this? Is it that buyers are seeing little difference between the various models? Minute differences in performance relative to the price spread? Competing aircraft, providing more value for the dollar? It's a little too soon to tell how the 650 is going to do relative to the 605 and the earlier 600s. But time will tell, and if we do go into an economic recession in 2020, that can have a drastic impact on Challenger values. I'm Dennis Rousseau with AircraftPost's Rousseau Report. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.